Okay guys, I am a moron. I recorded a whole bunch of videos all at one time, took a whole afternoon trying to do it, and did the whole thing with some spinach in my teeth. So as I don't really have the time to re-record all these videos, I need to edit them, I need to get them out because some of them have to do with the Halloween season. You're just gonna have to grin and bear with me. So it's not too noticeable most of the time. I have my, my lips kind of cover it and whatever, but if I sort of open my mouth wide enough or smile or something, it's pretty noticeable. So sorry in advance, getting this out of the way, spinach in my teeth. Life lesson, whenever you do something, always check your teeth first. So here's the video. About 2 years ago, I made a video called the top 10 films I would love to see on Criterion Blu Ray. It was 10 films that either weren't available at all on Blu Ray in the United States or had been released on really basic Blu Rays and either deserve a better treatment or are now out of print. In the time since, one of those films has been released on Criterion, John Cassavetes' Husbands. The Lining finished its 4K restoration, but still hasn't been announced as a release by any physical media companies. And Shane Carruth had a restraining order put on him by his ex, Amy Seimetz. So may not be seeing that Criterion edition of Primer anytime soon. So I thought maybe it would be a good time to do another list because there's many more films I would love to see to get the Criterion treatment. And I picked out 10 more, and hopefully this list is a little bit better than last. This group is almost all films that have never been released on Blu Ray in the US. There's only 2 on the list that have a Blu Ray, but one of those I think Criterion could do a better job on. And regarding the other, I think inclusion into the Criterion Collection could bring it the attention that it deserves. Or at least bring it more attention, is maybe what I should say. So let's just get into it, and I'll try and keep this shorter and more concise than my last video. The first film on this list is Jeff Nichols' debut feature, Shotgun Stories. The film is about 2 groups of half-brothers who start feuding after their shared father dies. To me, Shotgun Stories is one of the best American independent film debuts I have ever seen. You get Michael Shannon in a really early role. Nichols' brother, who's the lead singer of alt country band Lucero, provides the soundtrack. And while not all of the acting is amazing, the majority of this film is pretty fantastic. Number 2 is Robert Altman's California Split. This one seems to have gotten a high-def transfer, but hasn't been released by anybody yet, even though it has been on both Amazon Prime and Criterion Channel. I was really hoping that its presence on the Criterion Channel would mean that they're at least considering it for release. The film stars George Segal and Elliot Gould as a pair of gambling buddies out for a good time. Gould's life is already kind of ruined by gambling, and Segal's life starts to go downhill when he teams up with Gould. It's a really fantastic study of 2 characters giving themselves over to a vice. I love the acting, the directing, the cinematography, just everything. To me, this film should be considered among Altman's best, up there with Nashville, MASH, McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and others. Number 3 is the Russian epic drama Leviathan. This one actually has a Blu Ray release, but I feel like it's so little known that putting it out on Criterion could definitely raise awareness of it and hopefully get more people to watch this absolutely stunning film. I once saw someone had compared this to The Godfather, and I don't think that they're wrong on that. It doesn't really share any of the story beats or the themes, but it does feel like an epic the way that the first Godfather film felt. Leviathan is about a man who lives in a small Russian coastal town who has to go up against the town's corrupt mayor to prevent the mayor from taking his land and destroying his house. I saw Leviathan when it came out in a fairly limited run here in the States, and I remember thinking that anybody that didn't see this was missing out. Number 4 is the Up series. Michael Apted, the director of all but the first Up series film, stated that after 63 Up, he thought that would most likely be the last one, as he wasn't sure that his health would hold up. He has since passed away, and it seems like the series is more than likely over, which would make it a fantastic time to release a Blu Ray box set of all the films. If you don't know what the Up series is, it's a series of films that follow a group of English youths from the time they are 7 years old up to 63 years old, with installments happening every 7 years. I'm not hyperbolizing when I say that the Up series is one of the greatest works of documentary filmmaking and one of the greatest works of filmmaking, period. It is a stunning achievement and feels like it was custom made for Criterion. Number 5 is the other film on this list that has a Blu-ray, Michael Mann's The Insider. The Insider follows the real-life story of a scientist who defects from the tobacco industry and risks his life to spill their secrets on 60 Minutes, and the 60 Minutes producer that risks his career to put the story on the air. This is hands down one of Mann's best films. Probably in my top 3 of his films, and I would love to see a decked out special edition disc with new interviews, more special features, commentaries, the whole works. Honestly, this is probably the least likely one of the group since it's relatively well known and does already have a Blu-ray, but this is one of those films that I would just selfishly like to see that little Criterion C logo on. Number 6 is Paul Schrader's Light Sleeper. Now, Indicator in the UK has put this out on Region B Blu-ray, so there is a high definition transfer out there. You know, if you're watching this Criterion, it's out there. Light Sleeper is the story of a New York City drug dealer who services only high-class clientele, but starts to see his life unravel when an unthinkable event happens. Willem Dafoe delivers an amazing performance in this film, and I always thought that Light Sleeper feels like a spiritual sequel to Taxi Driver. Like, what if after Taxi Driver, Travis Bickle cooled off a little bit, things became a little less black and white for him, and he became a drug dealer to make ends meet? And what if he liked it? Light Sleeper is definitely a film you should catch, and I would love to see it amongst some of Schrader's other great work that's already in the Criterion Collection. Number 7 is one of my all-time favorite documentaries, American Movie. The story of a Wisconsin-based independent filmmaker and his quest to make a micro-budget horror film that will likely be his key to glory. American Movie not only captures the independent film scene of the time, it's also an amazing portrait of a family trying to get by in rural America. It can be equal parts hilarious and heartbreaking. I love to watch this film regularly, but my DVD is definitely looking a little tired. So, since this one was shot on 16mm, and I'm assuming blown up to 35 for festivals and theatrical, because people were still doing that at the time, American Movie should be a pretty easy scan to high def. Criterion, if you're listening. It's been on the channel, so I'm hoping that their mind that's what they're pointing at. Number 8 on the list is Guy Maddin's Dracula, Pages from a Virgin's Diary, another film that has been on the channel, but unfortunately only in standard definition. I would love to see a high-def Criterion Blu-ray of this with director's commentary, maybe some featurettes on the production design and technical aspects of this, because it is a truly unique production. The film is probably best described as a highly stylized capturing of a ballet based on Bram Stoker's Dracula and performed by a Canadian ballet troupe. Maddin captures the entire film with its stunning sets, gorgeous choreography, and beautiful costume design on 16mm and Super 8 film, which creates a very dreamlike effect. You've probably never seen anything quite like Dracula, Pages from a Virgin's Diary, and I really feel like it should be seen by more people. Number 9 may be the most controversial film on this list, and that's Gus Van Sant's Elephant. This was put out on DVD after its release, but has never been available on Blu-ray, and to be honest, I can understand why some companies may be hesitant to release it. Elephant is an almost dreamlike interpretation of the Columbine High School shooting that happened in 1999, an event which was the touching point for a series of school shootings and massacres that are unfortunately still going on today in 2021. So I get it, it's a hot potato, but Van Sant's film isn't about the shooting. Van Sant's film is trying to capture the normality and simultaneous beauty and horror of being a high schooler, and the kind of tensions amongst students that create the situations that led to Columbine. I personally think it's an important film, and I think it fits in with some of the Van Sant work that is already in the collection. I actually did have the DVD for this back in the day, and I sold it, and I always regret doing that. So, but again, what I would really like to see is a high def transfer of this on Blu-ray. So that leads us to number 10. The final pick on my list was Jane Campion's The Piano, but Criterion recently announced that they are in fact releasing this as one of their first 4K titles. So instead, I decided to go with Birth. Birth is music video director Jonathan Glazer's second feature film, and it is a restrained masterpiece with a kind of insane plot. The basic rundown of the film is a New York socialite gets a visit from a young boy who claims to be the reincarnation of her dead husband, and seems to have a lot of intimate knowledge to back up his claim. It's a strange mystery that certainly gets you wrapped up in it. Nicole Kidman gives one of her better performances in Birth, and the film is worth watching just for Harris Saviti's amazing cinematography. I saw this one in the theater when it originally came out, and it is mesmerizing. It's been long out of print on DVD and has never been out on Blu Ray, so I think this beautiful and mystifying film by one of the great music video directors would be a great addition to the collection. So that is my list of 10 more films I'd love to see on the Criterion Collection, or at this point, just anybody who will release them. I think they'd be great on Criterion, but I'd just be happy to get the ones that aren't out on Blu-ray on Blu-ray. I hope you enjoyed this video. If there's films you'd love to see on Criterion, feel free to drop them in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.